right, this is a prequel to the next video, which is going to be on the letter Hey in the Hebrew alphabet, but more specifically, the feminine aspects of the letter Hey and how the letter Hey is what determines if a word is masculine or feminine. The placing of the Hey at the end of a word actually gives it the feminine dynamic of the word. When you see in scripture, when you're reading in scripture and you're studying a word and it says it's the masculine or the feminine form, what determines that is the letter Hey. But we're going to be looking in the next video, the one that's coming after this, we're going to be looking into some things. I wanted to do kind of an introductory tutorial to that so that you have just some basic understanding before we get into breaking down the nuts and the bolts of the letter Hey and how it actually gives you a much deeper meaning and story behind the word that you're studying. So what I want to point out today is the fact that your understanding of Scripture is determined on your understanding of gender roles in Scripture. So your understanding of gender roles affects your interpretation of Scripture, and your interpretation of Scripture affects your view on gender roles. It's cyclical. Like everything Hebrew, it is cyclical. It's circular. So let's look at the world today, the Western world in particular. Let's look at the gender confusion that we have going on in the Western society, where men act like women and women act like men, and there's a blurring of that fine and defined line on what male and female gender roles entail. So what I would like to do is to do just a brief, kind of like skimming the surface, just some background information, whatnot, that when we get into the actual breaking down and looking at different words that are feminine, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get that. All right. So we first need to understand what a woman's role is, what she was designed to do. We have to understand that so that we can understand what the feminine words mean. So what I would like to submit to you today, and I might have covered this in some other videos, but for the sake of those who haven't seen those videos, and I'm not sure, I'm not going back and digging through all of it, but God designed women to reveal and expose men. Eve was designed to reveal and expose Adam. And I will even go as far as to say that when it said that Adam had no help meet, the word meet there is neged, which it means to oppose or means against. Okay, now we would say against is, you can look at that in a negative way, or you can look at that in a positive way. Okay, so a mirror is opposed to, it's opposed to you, just like this camera is opposed to me now. It's opposite of me. Oppose, opposite. It is opposite of me. And the thing is that those things which are opposite of us, a mirror, have the ability to show us ourselves. So I want you to think about a woman was designed to be a man's helpmeet. Okay, she was designed to be against him. And when you go look up that word neged, look at the ways that it's used, you will see that it is used to mean against. Okay, now you can take that and say, oh, okay, so women are bad, but that's not the truth. The truth is that her design by God was to find flaws in you so that you could become the better version of yourself. Okay? Just like a mirror is opposite of you and it shows you your flaws so that you can address those flaws, and then you will no longer have those flaws. Okay? So and I'm not saying this in a way that it's not her job to point them out. It's not her job to correct, instruct, and reprove you. That's not her job. But if you are paying attention, if you are a man who understands what her role is, then you will be wise to pay attention to her behavior, pay attention to her habits, pay attention to the things that she says and the things that she does, because she's a reflection of you. Okay, if you don't like what's in the mirror, when you look in the mirror in the morning and you don't like what's in the mirror, it's ridiculous for you to get mad at the mirror. It's ridiculous for you to begin trying to cover your zits up with a marker on the mirror, because the truth is the zits are still there. You know, if you've got nose hairs hanging out or ear hair, whatever it is, whatever blemishes you find, the way for you to deal with what you see in the mirror is not to address the mirror, it's to address you, okay? So at a fundamental level, right from the very get-go in Genesis, God knew that for man, it was not good for man to be alone. The reason why is because the man could never reach his fullest and greatest potential without somebody to intimately be involved with him at a level that she could expose his weaknesses, the areas that he was flawed in. Okay, you got to remember that Adam didn't have a father to teach him masculinity. Okay? The woman is a reflection of the man. This means that the man, in order for a woman to become her greatest self, she needs a man. Because you read in Ephesians 5 that it is the man's job to create a spotless and blameless bride. So without him, she can't become the best version of herself, but without her, he can't become the best version of himself. Okay? But the way this all ties in is that Christ leads the man and man leads the woman. Christ refines the man, and then the man refines the woman. Christ gives the man purpose, and the man gives the woman purpose, okay? So even though the man is paying attention to what she's doing, how she speaks to him, how she treats their children, how she conducts herself, she is a reflection of him. So just for an example, if a woman is disrespectful, loud, obnoxious, controlling, angry, bitter, resentful, all those things, what that tells me is that she has a weak husband who does not provide boundaries. She's married to a man who does not lead, instruct, correct, reprove his wife like Christ does him. Okay? Christ corrects, instructs, and reproves me, but he shows me myself by what I see in my wife. So when my wife acts a certain way and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, why is she acting like this? Christ comes in and says, okay. Uses scripture to show me how he has dealt with the ecclesia, or dealt with the called out ones, or dealt with the ones at Mount Sinai, we would also call the church. How he deals with the church is how we deal with our wives. And he teaches us through that. If you saw my video, I'm writing a book, and it's on Proverbs, where it says, my son, give me your heart and let your eyes watch my ways. Okay. All of scripture is about a father teaching his son how to be a father and a husband. But that's for the book. That's for other videos. But for the sake of this, your wife is a tool that God uses to teach you about you. So the things in you that are bad, the things in you that need to be corrected, are best demonstrated by the woman he puts opposite of you. That mirror. And a wise man learns by watching his wife's behavior and saying, I must be short somewhere, or I must be long somewhere. I must be either doing too much of something or not enough of something else, or not doing something at all. So a man would be wise to pay attention to his wife. And what we can say about the wife is that it's her job to expose or to reveal her husband. And it's in the language. It's in the language. We'll get into that more when I break down letters and words, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to make it kind of simple and surface. But if you think about it, a man gives a woman semen, she then takes that and amplifies it, and out comes a child. Okay? So the man's mind, will, and emotions, his semen, which semen carries the man's mind, will, and emotion, his DNA, carries it, it goes into the woman. She carries that for almost 10 months. She carries that, and then 40 weeks, she brings that forth, and then here's a child. That is a physical representation of that man. That's his works and deeds going into a woman, and then she brings it forth and says, here is the man. Here is the revelation of my husband. This is him right here. Okay? A man brings home money and provision, gives it to the wife. Like, in other words, like a man provides a budget for the woman to do the things that she needs to do, and out comes meals, out comes clothing, out comes, the projects and the pantry and things that she does around the home to keep the home running and functioning properly as its manager. Okay? So a woman is a revealer of the man. Now, a woman who does well with the finances that her husband provides for her, and for that stipend that he gives her for those different functions, a woman who does well with those things, she obviously is revealing her husband's frugal nature. She is to be a representative of him. So in other words, if a man is leading his family rightly, it's going to show in how she spends the money that she's given for groceries, the kind of food that she's feeding her family, the kind of clothing that she's putting on her family, the pantry and things like that. She's not out spending frivolously on Coach purses, buying alcohol and getting drunk during the day, things like that. Just kind of basic stuff. But a woman is like a canvas in a way too. We could look at her as a mirror to the man, and the man can see his flaws in her. But also, she is the man's works. The Father, or God, is the potter, and that word potter means imagination. So what God imagines, and then He forms us. One hand inside, if you can imagine throwing a pot on a wheel, clay pot. There's one hand inside the pot, one hand on the outside, and then forming and then bringing that object to its fullness. Takes pressure from the inside and pressure from the outside. Okay, so we can see that the Spirit is working on the inside of a man, and then God working on the outside of the man, and even the other factors in his life, like his wife and other things that he's dealing with, are kind of helping to form that man. Okay, but the woman is the work of the man. She is his burnt sacrifice, burnt offering. If you look at the word for woman, isha, it means burnt offering, or burnt offering or sacrifice. So she is his works. So the woman reveals the man, and she is a representative of his mind, will, and emotion, his works, his spiritual condition. So you want to see what kind of a spiritual condition a man is in, look at his wife. If you want to see what that man is made of, is he a top-notch man, you look at his wife. That's why in the New Testament it says, or I'm trying to remember the verse, It says that the wife is a crown to her husband. Okay? So if you want to know who a king is, look at his wife. Not all men are kings. They're created to be kings, but not all men live up to that expectation. Okay? So the woman reveals the man. The crown reveals the king. So if a man has a crown, if his wife is a solid, disciplined, soft, sweet, feminine woman who makes good decisions with the money, she takes good care of her children, she runs her house. The man doesn't have to worry about things. He's like, hey, I give this so much money, whatever, to making sure the house runs. She does well with it and even saves money. She's sweet. Her personality's great. She's hospitable. She's sweet girl, right? That is saying that the man that she is with is a solid leader. Okay? So she reveals the man. But the man is the painter of that canvas. The man, he provides the boundaries. He says this is how he wants his family to run. This is what kind of food he wants them to eat. This is not micromanaging, but big picture. He's the one that's painting the big picture, and his wife is like his magnum opus, his greatest, his life work, okay? So the man's imagination, the woman forms, again, I've talked about this, the woman being the water and how she takes on the form of the man. The man is the cistern. The man is the well, so to speak, that holds and contains the water, and then the water, the feminine energy, takes form to that object that the water is in. Okay? But that water reveals what the container is. So the container, whatever form that container is, that the water that goes in it shows what kind of container it is. So if a cistern that cannot hold water, if you remember, I think it's in Jeremiah, it says that you were hewn out cisterns that cannot hold water, okay? So think about a cistern or a water pot that's leaking water all the time. It's constantly got water leaking out of it, okay? That water is exposing the weaknesses of the earthen vessel. It's exposing those things. It's revealing that its container is not suitable. It's revealing that its container is not suitable to hold water. Okay? And that's what we see going on in relationships today, is most of the relationships, the man is not capable of holding water because the water finds its way out. Okay? Now, in a nutshell, I want to toss in something here. Everything that I've explained to you is somebody could say that it's a negative thing. Like a lot of men I hear complain, oh, my wife is she's an absolute witch and she's constantly nagging me. She's always complaining. She's never happy. Okay, that means that you're not leading her, and you are not leading her, correcting her, instructing her, reproving her, teaching her, training her up in the way that you would have her to go. That's because you are not doing your job. She's just revealing that about you. And I believe that no man can fully become the best version of himself, the version that God created him to be, if he can't be a king if he doesn't have a woman following him, if he does not have a wife. Look, people say the scripture all the time about Paul saying, it's better to not be married. That was about the end of the age that was at hand, the tribulation that was at hand, and the fall of the temple in 70 AD and what was coming. Okay, that has nothing to do with God's created order. You cannot, as a man, fully comprehend and understand God's plan for you without a woman, because her being in your life, she is designed in such a way to find every flaw in you and to expose it. And wisdom would say that if you see those flaws in yourself, that you'll fix them. I'm being too lenient. I'm not teaching her. I'm not teaching her what I want. I'm not instructing her. And as you've seen in other videos, we know that God's love is demonstrated through correction, instruction, and reproof. God teaches you what he wants. That's how he shows you that he loves you. You show that you love him by submitting and obeying him, okay? The woman was designed because of the intimacy that happens in the marriage. The intimacy is a twofold. It actually works many folds, but let's look at it in the sense that by a man being intimate with a woman, he is now intimately involved with her, and it allows her to get a deeper look, to get deeper inside the man and find those deep, dark, hidden places, the blind spots. It allows her to get deeper into the man and find the innermost parts where there's weakness. And the same thing is true of the man with the woman. Because of the intimacy that is there, it provides the ability for the man to teach a woman and instruct her in a way that her father could not. Okay? Without the intimacy, the relationship doesn't have the kind of fire that's necessary for purification. Intimacy provides the fire that is necessary for purification. But that sexual relations with her allows her to get deeper into the man and find all of his weaknesses. And we know that being sexually active with a woman does create mental problems for the man, in the sense that he gets emotionally attached. He begins to try and please her. He begins to try and appease her and to earn her approval. Things like that. That's what intimacy does. But again, if you're wise, you'll pay attention to what you see coming out of your woman, and you will address that in you so that you become a better man. And as you become a better man, your woman becomes a better woman. But she needs you to become the best version of you so that she can become the best version of herself. Okay? Now this is all tied up in the letter He. I want you to be thinking as we talk that the letter He is encompassing this. Okay? This is the feminine. Okay? He, to reveal, behold, expose. Okay? Now when we see words, we're going to look at words. We're going to look at words such as sin, law, trouble, afflicted. Those are feminine words. And if you've been paying attention to anything that I say, it's going to make sense to you when I come to you with the next video. We begin to look at things and show you that sin in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing. Do we want sin in our life? No. But it reveals things about you. It exposes things about you that if you were wise, you would correct. The same thing is true if you look at, it says that woman's desire is for the man, but he must rule over her. Okay, her desire is for the man, but he must rule over her. Okay? Genesis 4:7, I believe, says that sin's desire is for you, but you must rule over it. Okay? Its desire is to control you, to have its way with you, but you must rule over it. And a woman, if you don't fix yourself, she will rule over you. She will control you. Absolutely. But we need to understand what the feminine means so that we have a proper understanding and interpretation of Scripture, so that our interpretation of Scripture is proper, that we will have proper understanding of our roles. So we'll see you in the next one.